This is Storytellers and Story Sellers live on tape. You're listening to Vineet Kanabar on the IVM Podcast Network. Coffee is said to have been introduced in India in about 1640 when Baba Budan, an infamous Indian Sufi saint, stopped in the Yemeni port of Mocha while on his way to a pilgrimage to Mecca. He is said to have loved coffee so much, he smuggled 7 beans to plant back home in Karnataka, India, of all places. And from Budan's private backyard, coffee saplings grew tremendously, now covering what are called the Baba Budan Hills. Till the 21st century, India was always considered a tea drinking culture, but the tide has slowly been shifting towards coffee, at least in urban areas. With at least 16 unique and indigenous varietals, India's coffee culture is well fed by locally and globally sourced coffee, growing at more than 5% each year and fueled originally by India Coffee House and then by Cafe Coffee Day. In 2020, India's coffee culture is exploding, especially beyond the top metros and even beyond our shores. To talk about this growing culture, I'm delighted to be joined by one of India's best professional coffee roasters and brewers, a coffeepreneur, the winner of Indian Aeropress 2017, and my old friend, Mithilesh Mazalwar. Mithilesh, great to have you on Storytellers and Story Sellers. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Vinny. That was a fantastic introduction, man. I didn't know most of the stories from the Mocha and Yemen, man. That is really cool.
It's interesting, right?
Yeah, it is really interesting. Like I knew half of it, but well, all in all, I'm really happy to be here and great
Yeah,
to talk to you, man.
yeah, likewise, bro. It's interesting that he found it in a place called Mocha because mocha and coffee and chocolate are such a thing. It's always interesting. So, I mean, Mithilesh, before we get into coffee culture and all of that, explain to me, like I don't know anything about coffee. What is it that a coffee Q grader does?
So in short, a coffee Q grader would be tasting a lot of samples of coffees, and there's a specific cupping sheet, which basically I have to score the coffee on the cupping sheet on the basis of aroma, body, aftertaste, acidity, overall, any defects in that, any faults or taints in that, you know. So there's a particular course for that. Actually,
Mhm.
that's an exam more than a course. It's an exam that you got to go through, and there's a cupping sheet. So when I have a coffee in front of me, I am cupping it. I'm rather tasting it, and I'm filling out the form. So it's a language, I would say. All right.
Right,
So it's more of a language that which I have to kind of write it down on numbers basis. So the
right,
scoring goes from 6 to 10
right,
with an increment of 6, 6.25, 6.5, and till 10.
right,
All the scores clubbed together would form the score for that coffee.
right,
Now, that coffee, any coffee scoring 80 or above 80 is going to be a specialty coffee. Any coffee scoring below 80 is going to be a commercial coffee. And this scoring is legitimate on the London and New York Stock Exchange. So,
right.
coffee, as you know,
Wow.
is the second largest traded commodity in the world. That is
Absolutely.
legally.
Right.
Legally. So, the prices fluctuate according to the score of the coffee. So now there are coffees in India which are scoring around 80 and 88. So just
Right.
as a description, if I want to give you how what it means is Usain Bolt, for example, if he
Right.
is reducing his 100-meter uh, target by just like microseconds, you know how big it is.
Right.
So the same way 87 से लेके 87.25 जाना is that difficult, you know.
Right.
So that's what a Q grader does. In short,
So
tastes
like
a lot
like
of
a coffee
coffees.
critic, someone who's like a professional coffee grader critic, basically is someone whose coffee taste matters to the rest of the business in a
See,
manner of saying.
yeah, I mean, essentially, what happens is like a Q grader sitting in Nagpur,
Right.
as like me, and a Q grader sitting in Kenya. We would have more or less the same understanding for the coffee. So it's nothing to do with what I like.
Right.
All right, it is what basically what the coffee has a potential of. All right, how the producer has worked around it, how the coffee has turned out to be, and it's more. It is nothing to do with my personal choice. Whereas a critique, I would maybe say, is more towards the palate and all those things, like
Right.
the person would like it or not. But here, I just have to be non-judgmental. It is
Right.
what it is, sort of a thing.
Right. Like so some I would say it's then somewhere between a critic and a CA in the coffee industry. Right? Sort
I was
of.
I was scared that you would bring that topic up.
So no, tell me. I mean, let's just run this off. Tell me, how many coffee graders are there? Like Q graders are there in India?
When I did my Q grading, there were just 24. Right now, I guess there are 32 in India.
Wow.
I happen to be the first and only till now who has done it from Australia.
Right.
I did that back in 2017.
Right.
I mean, after CA, after all that, went to Melbourne for a short period of time, but I did it over there. So that was
Right.
something which is I was really happy about.
Brilliant. Um, Fantastic, man. I mean, that sounds so fascinating to me, to be honest, and not just because there's so few of you who truly understand it and have literally written an exam to certify yourself as Q graders, right? It's beautiful. Let me give my listeners some context here, right? So Mithilesh and I are both from Nagpur. We went to the school called Bharatiya Vidya Mandir in Civil Lines Nagpur, right? Mithilesh was one class my junior, and he was fabulous at badminton. I think uh, those people who people come to watch play badminton. Mithilesh was one of those guys, right? Now we used to be in touch when we were in school, and then we sort of lost touch for maybe 10 years or so, and then suddenly we got back in touch when Mithilesh was planning to go to Seoul for the Aeropress Championship. I think that's what it was, right? And we were talking
Yeah.
about how, and we got in touch talking about how Korea is an awesome place to go, because obviously I love everything Korean, right? So help me understand this. What happened in those like few years that we were not in touch, that your passion for coffee was ignited in this way, man? I mean, I love coffee, right? I have 5 different kinds of ground coffee in my house. I have a bunch of friends who are really into coffee, and they will literally sit and watch coffee pour. But you're someone who does it professionally, who's doing it every day. That takes serious passion. So I really want to understand what happened. How did you discover this?
Like when you took me back to the school, and it was like a great memory. I love our school. I miss that a lot.
Yeah.
So you mentioned about badminton. So you know what, Vineet, on my even before I knew, I was actually into coffee, to be honest.
Right.
And why I say that is because when I used to go for the tournaments, I used to go to different places to have coffee. Tab I did not know back then, there are different coffees, there are different, I don't know, beans. I didn't know how
Right.
beans look like also.
Right. We just
But
understood
that,
instant coffee at that time.
yeah, that's it. Instant coffee, and of course, Cafe Coffee Day had a
Sure. Yeah.
major role.
Yeah.
Everybody who grew up in this generation. And I used to go to these cafes and I used to have coffee. And the one question that I had was, why does coffee taste different everywhere? All right.
Right.
And that just got swept under the carpet somewhere or the other. And I'll connect this whole thing towards a school at the end of it.
Sure.
So that happened, and 2005 I passed out from the school. Like, actually, the school let me pass. I would say that. So I took up CA. CA was not my cup of tea at all, or cup of coffee.
Sure.
My dad is a CA, that's why I did not think about it. I wanted to be a CA, blah blah. But then again, I used to keep importing books of coffee, right? And I used to get these coffee bags and all these things. So I did not
Right.
know there was a career in coffee and you could make your passion into a paycheck, or all these things I was not really aware of.
Sure.
But cut to 2012 or 2014, where times were like little tough because my CA was not getting done. I would be really vocal about it. There's no shame in that, to be honest.
Right. Sure.
I
Of course.
had my last group left, and it was taking a while. I was really irritated, and all that happened. And additionally, my badminton career had ended because I tore my ankle ligament, and my calf muscle. So I was technically out of the badminton zone. So nothing was working out. And what spiked up was a surgery in my back, which was almost like a cancer scare. For 7-8 days, the whole doctors were like not able to figure out what it is, and they said it could be a cancer.
Wow.
But when I underwent the surgery, I remember coming out of it, and I was like kind of not conscious. And I remember telling myself that, dude, what are you doing, dude? Like, this is not what you are. This is
Mm.
not worth it. And I was like, okay, let's do something that I like. believe me, the dots started getting connected, to be honest,
Right.
I had a huge massive whiteboard in my office. I shut my company as well. I had a massive whiteboard and written all the to do's and all that, and coffee was like the 36th, 37th thing that I wanted to do. One thing led to the other. I went to Australia to meet my friend over there and have a
Right.
CA tie up and all, and I ended up doing a 2 day small coffee course. But really, what changed was the culture that I saw in Melbourne
Right.
and the Q graders I met over there, the roasters that I met over there.
Right.
So meeting a Q grader back then was almost like a cricketer meeting Sachin Tendulkar.
Right.
You know, for me it was like, okay, this exists, because I remember one person just tasting coffees, and I asked him like, "What are you doing?" So he's like, "I'm just tasting coffees for quality control." I'm like, "I don't know what it means, but I'm gonna do this."
Right. That sounds so cool.
It sounds so cool. So one thing led to the other. I started
Right.
speaking to a lot of people, and uh, yeah, then I joined. I came back to India. There was an opening in a company in Delhi. I joined that company. I joined as a junior roaster. From there, I moved on to the quality control head roaster and trainer, and then it just all started. And then went to Australia again. Worked with my mentor, who was 2016's World Roasting Champion.
Right.
That was incredible, man. That was in Chiang Mai, actually.
Right.
That was incredible. So yeah, that was so. There's a lot of things that the story can go on and on. To be
Right.
honest,
Right. No, but that sounds amazing, man. That sounds like a
yeah,
proper find your passion and then find someone who you can look up to and then find it early enough for it to be very, very cool and still continue to be cool.
yeah,
I mean, that just goes to show that exposure is so important, right? Like,
Ooh,
you can love the things you love, but knowing that you can turn the things you love into profits, like you said, passion into profits, and
passion
having the
and paycheck.
exposure into
Yeah,
paycheck. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
That
yeah, yeah,
I mean, that's just a great story, man. So tell me
yeah.
a little bit more about the technical side of what you learned, right? And just break it down for someone who's listening to this and might get
Mm,
interested in coffee.
mm.
But as one of the most, say, respected voices on coffee in the country, right? What would be your what would be your three simple rules to start learning coffee better, just to
Yeah.
get people started?
That's a great question, to be honest. Earlier, when if you would have asked me this question, I really did not know the answer, because I was kind of learning. I'm still learning,
Right.
but at least this answers I have kind of figured out. So when I entered coffee, there was there were just two companies, like coffee culture. Like people, my closest of the friends, they were like, "Tu kya waiter banne ja raha hai kya? Are you going to be a thumb?" All those things. That was the whole mindset. But I did not take against myself. It was like I was not there to prove them or anything. It was just what I wanted to do. So I figured it out all by myself. And the only thing that I would ask anybody is, whenever you are entering coffee, don't expect you to learn it in like just 2-3 months. All right.
Right. Right.
Uh, because I say that because I have met a lot of people who want to get mentored by me, but then they're like, we just have 2 months. We're like, I don't have 2 months then. You cannot expect to be running a show or being behind the bar or being at the service for 2 months after in just 2 months. It's
Right.
impossible.
Right.
So first you got to figure out, I do you really want to dedicate yourself in coffee? Because as you said earlier, that it is one of the coolest. Sure, it is one of the coolest things. But if let's say your business is not going, or people are not walking in, or you're not able to generate revenue, then
Right.
it's just a mess. All right.
Right.
So you have to go through the grind. So you got to figure out, do you want to start your own business? Do you want to be a coffee taster? Do you want to be a brewer? Do you want to be a coffee roaster? All right. So these four things, five things, you just have to break it down.
Right.
And I'm not saying you to take a decision instantly. All right. Just like instant coffee, don't take a decision instantly. All right.
Right.
But you need to give it some time. Like it won't come naturally to you. Like,
So what would be the first thing you'd say, like, for someone who's serious about coffee, right? Like, serious about a career in coffee, right? Maybe I don't know if I want to be an entrepreneur or if I want to run my own shop, but I
yeah,
know that I want to work in coffee, right? What would you say someone should do to get started just with that?
I would say go for internships.
Right.
Start with the internship. So I have been getting internship program running for the past 2 years now,
Right.
out of which almost out of 10, 8 people have become like a core team, not a core team member, two have become core team members, six have
Right.
become team members. But
That's great, man.
in yeah, I mean, it's really great because look, they also have to answer to their family, and it's not always easy. I was pretty lucky to have an atmosphere where my parents were like, okay, you have decided, now you do what you want to do.
Sure.
Because when I told my dad that I'm quitting my CA, he was like, okay, you're quitting your CA, that's fine. Now मैं नहीं रोक सकता हूँ, तो तू कॉफी में क्या कर रहा है? I did not have an answer to that. But not everybody has got that kind of a understanding, or maybe the rapport or something like that, right?
Right.
So internships become very, very critical. If you get a chance, do an internship really religiously. Just one thing I want to add over here is, whenever anybody is doing an internship at Corridor, the rule is for first 3 months you are not touching the espresso machine or the grinder or the manual brewing. You will be at service. You got to know the whole in and outs of how the cafe starts and how the cafe shuts,
Right.
closes down basically. So you got to go through the grind, man. Like going
No,
through the
of course. I
grind
think
is
the grind. Yeah. Then there's a grind in everything that you do, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's absolutely a grind in everything that you do. But you talked about coffee culture, right? And it's something that has really taken hold. I think the 2000 to like early part of 2010s were about craft beer, and the second part of 2010s were about
Yeah.
artisanal coffee, right? At least like brew coffee. What happened, right? And you've obviously seen it as an insider, now as an entrepreneur. Now you're running a coffee shop in Nagpur, right? And it's not like coffee shop in Bombay and Bandra,
Right.
but right. So
Yeah.
you've seen it grow from like we said, CCD to now running your own shop and exporting coffee out of India as well, right? So what
Yeah.
happened with Indian coffee culture? Like what did you see that really has stuck with you in the past few years?
Uh, I can't really pinpoint to any one thing, but it's it's magical, to be honest.
Right.
How it's become like a conversation starter and just a conversation. I mean, it's difficult for any product to be a conversation starter, to be honest. Coffee
Right.
has achieved in a very different way now. Back in 2015, when there was just like a couple of companies from there, many people looked at it as a business point of view. No harm in that. Many people really found out a way that, okay, this is something that I can really do, because now there's more support system. So I would say the support system has started building up. If anybody wants to
Right.
get into the coffee, right from the mindset of the farmers, because earlier the mindset of farmers, many farmers, was like, we want to just export the coffee. All right. Now that
Right.
shackles have been broken, and it's interesting to see that they want to work with roasters extensively in India as well, and they want to expose their coffees to the country. So I think the ecosystem has started developing much faster in coffee as against any other field, I would say. Farmers, then
Right.
you see the roasting companies coming in, the roaster manufacturing companies. You will see a lot
Right.
of espresso. So again, it's almost like a chicken came first or the egg kind of a story. Like,
Hmm.
did
Hmm.
the market see customers coming in this? That's why the espresso machine started coming in. But I think it just went hand in hand. You know, that is something evolved a lot, and I'm glad you mentioned this fact that we are not in a metro city or a city where you get a lot of people from outside, from abroad, or a tourist city sort of a thing. But what I saw in the tier 2 city right now was, or at least actually in India, is it does not matter where the coffee is coming from now. You know,
Right.
if the consistency and the quality is there, I am glad people are now understanding that fact. So, so I'll tell you, like, when I started Corridor 7, the tagline of Corridor 7 has been dreams don't see what address they come from.
Right.
Yeah, so that actually added up, and that actually has made so much sense, because we get people from Australia, we get people from Japan, I don't know from where all, man, like, and the coffee is going pan India. So that shackle has now been broken. Like, it
Right.
is just limited to this metro city or something.
And in terms of taste as well, right? I think within this coffee culture, while it has become wider and bigger, it has also become sort of more knowledgeable about taste,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I remember uh, going to a million times to Cafe Coffee Day and having that and considering that to be great coffee, right? I mean, even sometimes I even go to Georgia and have their iced coffee, man. That with
Yeah.
condensed milk, it tastes nice. Uh, but real coffee, the taste of real coffee and the really appreciating what coffee can do for you, that has also grown very recently, right? Like, of course, there is an entire sort of segment, and my mom is included in that segment, who will only drink brew, right? And
Right.
that's fine, right? I mean, but there is this active growth in other tastes as well, right? What
Mm.
do you see about that? Like, how do you see that changing, especially in Nagpur? Like, what do people walk in and order, and how is that different from other places? I'd love to know.
Uh, yeah. So, interestingly, when I started out in Nagpur, like the roastery, and then we decided to open a cafe, the first thought in my mind was like, what if people in the city, they just reject the concept? Like,
Right.
I knew that this is something which is very, very new to the city, new to the country as well back then. But I was not underplaying the fact that Nagpur is small and all those. I mean, I was not thinking all those things, but it was just the fear of what if people say, "Arey, ye to coffee मैं घर पे भी बना सकता हूँ," and then you're like,
Hmm.
"Oh God!" Like you got to run them through the whole thing. So I think the patience is the key, and knowledge is the second, the most important key. Because what we started initially was what I briefed my team about. It was whenever anybody comes and if they ask for a milk cold coffee with ice cream and all that, we are not serving that for sure. What we're going to do, in fact, is we're going to tell them that we are brewing a black coffee for us. Can you just try it out with us? That's on the house.
Hmm.
You will not believe. I remember almost like first 300, 400 customers that must have come over here.
Right.
We gave it to everybody. Even today, those customers, out of them, at least 200, like more than 60% around, they still are stuck with that black coffee.
Right.
So it is about the way you put it, the way you push it, the way you tell them, and not tell them for a fact that what, you don't know what black coffee is,
Mhm.
right? So that matters a lot. The acceptance has also increased, so
No, definitely, man.
that's changed a lot.
I think that exposure, the first exposure to really good coffee, I think is an important moment, and I'm glad that many people are having this in India. But I'd love to dig deeper into this, into
Yeah.
the entrepreneur side of running a coffee shop, and please, like, feel free to tell us your experiences from the first few years, because I have had coffee. I've been to your restaurant, your restaurant and coffee shop, and I've had the nitro there is amazing. But I've also had like a fair sense that coffee culture in Nagpur
Mhm.
is not about nitro, right? Or it's not about
Mm.
great blends. It's about quote unquote conversations, right?
Mm.
What were other types of resistances that you faced, right? How did you get people in? Like, what was the process like when you just opened up, apart from like offering free samples? How did
Uh,
people really get into this culture, right?
uh, See, when we started from this small, you've seen the roastery how small it is.
Right.
And actually, as we speak, now I'm moving into a bigger facility
Right.
in the next 1 month, so we're really excited about it. Uh, so we started from this space, and to be very, very honest, we we were not going to be a cafe
Right.
because it is almost like, let's give an example of Crawford Market of Bombay. That's
Right.
what Sitabadi of Nagpur is, right? Nobody goes there to hang out.
Right.
So I was like, "Ki, I just want to park my machine. I just want to roast my coffee and ship it pan India and do my stuff." But one thing led to the other, and then people started knowing it via Instagram, where just interviews that were getting published and all. And slowly, gradually, 5 people, 10 people, 15 people, and it was literally like that. It was not
Right.
even like
So,
I'm
like, word
making
of
it up.
mouth, complete word of mouth.
Complete word of mouth. There was
Right.
no board, man. There was no board.
Right.
I did not put a board outside. There was nothing. All right. Uh, and then there was one fine day where there were like 15 people sitting in the cafe in the roastery at one point of time, and I did not have space to pack my coffees.
Right.
That is how actually the space of cafe started.
Right.
I knew that. I was not great at food. I was not good at food. I had no idea of food, so I'm not going to start the food at all.
Mhm.
All I thought was I just want to make people sit over there. They have our coffees. That's about it. And we just had like small one or two things on the menu, because even then the cafe was not really the plan. What
Right.
I'm trying to say over here is that building up gradually is the only way to go. No amount of money can really uh, bring that culture, to be very honest.
Mhm.
All right, it is only how you get your team along with you. Team
Right.
matters the most, to be honest.
Right.
Like the team that I have at Corridor, they are hardcore, man. Like they'll take care of you like in and out. They'll just be, and I'm really proud of it. Like I always keep telling them that, look, I may be the pilot of the flight, but we are now mid-air, and I won't be the only person who will be taking care of it. It is you guys who take care of the experience. So we've always thought of coffee not as a transaction,
Right.
but as a conversation. So
That's
it
a very
is,
nice way of putting it.
yeah. I mean, it was actually like that. We had a big community table, and we were like, let's see how it goes. Let's see how Nagpur is ready. And actually, Nagpur was ready.
Right.
Actually, Nagpur was ready. And we've got some great compliments, like people from coming from outside, and they've been like, wow, we did not expect this. We did not expect this kind of culture. So all I'm trying to say is brick by brick is the only way to go, at
Mhm.
least in the first 3 years. There are a lot of there are different challenges altogether. The amount of hours you have to be behind the machine and behind training people is something I'm not complaining at all. That is what I have chosen.
Right.
I love it. But if you ask me what is one thing that you would like to change going back, it would be nothing.
Right. That's a great place to be. I'll double click on training a little bit in a second, but let me put this in stark contrast with this. Right. I think um, Barista opened in '98. I
Yeah.
think in Nagpur. All right.
Mhm.
And I remember going there like a lot. I mean, it was one of those things that my family would just do, right? Chill and go.
There was a 60 rupees coffee.
That was a 60 rupees coffee, right? Like, and they shut, right? 98, 99. I think they were around for a year and a half, maybe. Then they shut, right? From there to what? To artisanal coffee or to sort of boutique coffee that you're running now. It's a 20-year leap, right?
Yeah.
In what we've seen. Now, when you say building slowly, obviously that's so much that goes into developing this kind of a business, right? Like there's obviously the retail side of things that you do in Nagpur in terms of a restaurant space, right? There's the export, there's so much. How did you first of all begin to build this, right? And like what was the thought behind starting Corridor 7 in that way, and how do you manage to train people? I mean, what are the sort of guardrails that you look at when you were early building your team early on?
Yeah. Uh, so to begin with, honestly, I would give this credit to badminton that in my sports journey, it's been always taught. I mean, you also were a sports person. You were an incredible runner. You used to play volleyball, right?
Right, right,
And yeah, so like how building a team was uh, engraved in our blood, like
right,
since beginning. So that is how it. I always took. So I always also take coffee as a sport. By the way, I
right.
honestly take coffee as a sport because every day I'm performing, and then one day there will be like a Olympics in that.
That's
That
what
is
I'm
what.
going to call this episode: coffee as a
Oh,
sport.
oh, nice, awesome.
Right.
So it is almost like a sport because my whole aim is towards championship. But anyway, so coming back to this thing, I knew that uh, it's not one person who can take it, and neither do I want somebody whom I just pay the salary and they'll be here 9 to 5 or whatever it is. But I want to grow with them. I want to learn with them. I want to teach them. But for that, I need to know what I am doing. I need
Right.
to really know what. So I come from that kind of a background where if I wouldn't teach anybody if I don't know a little bit of it, or
Right.
maybe I know 99% and I don't know 1%, I would not go ahead and teach, sort of a thing.
Right.
So a little bit towards 100% I want, sort of a thing.
Like a perfectionist, sort of.
Kind of, which
Right.
is
Which is
I
important, right? I think in coffee, especially, it's important, right?
yeah, if you channelize it, definitely it is important.
Right.
If you channelize it well, it's very important, or else it bites you in the back.
Right.
Especially when you are in the city of Nagpur and you want like certain things the same way. And I'm talking about not the team, but I'm talking about the smallest thing we need, like say the paint of the wall. you
Right.
know at times it is like, sir, painti to hai, and you're like, no, man, that is not what my head is saying.
Right.
So you got to channelize your perfectionism, is what I'll put it to.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
yeah, so it is important that you train your team and ensure that you give them the power that tomorrow when you're not here, you're running the show.
Right.
And the whole motto also of Corridor 7 has been that no other brand is your competition, but when 2.0, Corridor 7 2.0 starts, that becomes your competition. It is
Right.
the 3.0 becomes your competition. So your SOPs need to be set, and you need to know how to take care of the customers. That's the most important priority.
Right.
Like I always keep telling them, we are not in a coffee business, but we are in an experience business. That is something which is critical, and you can give an experience to somebody when you know it yourself and you got nothing to hide. All right, like let's say I don't know something about, let's say, the food I have got, and I'll be like, that is not where you want to be in the coffee space.
Right. Right.
I'm missing the second part of your question that you said.
No, second part of my question was, I mean, you talked about the team building. The first part of my question really was, um, you talked about, I mean, sorry, I'll take this again.
Yeah.
First part of my question mostly was about starting out, right? I mean, there are so many parts to your business, right? And it's not
Hmm.
a,
Hmm.
how do you say, low capital investment business?
No.
If I may put it like
Yeah. It's not.
lightly,
It's
but
not.
right. So how did you look at prioritizing that capability development? How did that work out for you?
Yeah. So I remember this, what Rahul Dravid had once said. Like he
Right.
was also pursuing CA, and he's like, whenever I used to not perform well in cricket, I used to tell myself that, dude, if you don't perform well, you'll have to go back to CA. You
Right.
know. So I also kept doing that to myself. Dude, if you
Right.
don't work out over here, you gotta go back to CA. So I mean, come on, I did not get up saying, yeah, I'm gonna tally a balance sheet, man, today.
Right.
It was not exciting. But anyway, so I think one thing led to the other, and speaking to a lot of people and keeping your mind open, rather, asking the right questions to the right people was very important. Like, I've got a lot of people who are so great advisors of mine, like
Mhm.
amazing. Like, so, how do, like, I would put it in a way, there are 10 things that you get stuck on.
Right.
Not one person can fulfill all those 10 things. So you need to
Right.
find out that who's fitting over here, whom do you call him, who do we call, that way.
Right.
So that
Horses for
matters.
courses, basically.
Yeah, that's right. That's nice. Right. So that kind of developed and evolved over a period of time. So even I was figuring it out. All the mistakes I made, I'm really happy about it. I'm just
Right.
really happy about that I made those mistakes. So, uh, yeah, it's almost like a jigsaw puzzle. Yeah, you just have to go for it. Like, there are a lot of people who get stuck up with the thought कि यार ये इतना investment है, अभी मैं कैसा करूंगा या कैसे करूंगी, I don't know next steps. I sucked at a lot of things, man.
Mhm.
I just knew coffee. I did not know really a lot of other things. But once you kind of find it out, and once you're motivated enough that you want to do this,
Mhm.
I think you find it out. Yeah, I
No,
don't.
but tell me about. I mean, passion and motivation is always great, right? But what would you say? You said you made mistakes. What would you say were like two or three of the mistakes that taught you a lot on your journey?
One, not taking paperwork seriously.
Right.
Extra. I can see.
No, no, I know the feeling. Yes.
That is like, you meet me in the bank and you will not recognize me because I won't recognize you. I'll be like a different person. I don't understand banking
No, no,
and
but
paperwork.
I will tell you that I have submitted my investment declaration today. I submitted it. I did it finally. But
You
anyway,
had to, man. You
I
had to. The
had
date
to.
is.
But I've done it.
So
No, but I know I identify with that completely, man.
yeah,
It's
man.
so
So
important, but so boring.
boring.
My God, it will kill.
It's so boring. I mean, it just doesn't add up at all.
Yeah, it does. It
Sometimes,
absolutely
like,
does.
so you need to have that sorted for sure. Paperwork, definitely. You need, one thing that I learned. The other thing that I learned was, not to be adamant enough uh, to think that what you have learned is the only thing in this world. I
Right,
was at a point. I'll really admit it, that I thought that no, this is the right way. This is
right,
how it is.
right.
But then, it just masked my, what do you say, openness towards learning.
Mhm.
and I think it comes with to everybody. It may bring out a little bit negative part of mine, but then I think it's with everybody, and I'm happy that I am sharing that out because it's very normal.
Mhm.
So those two things were like really important for me to learn, and I'm glad I learned it really quickly. Like, just be open and get your paperwork sorted, man. Like, just
Right.
just try to get your paperwork sorted. So that's something that I learned.
Shit, man. I have just like hard related to your paperwork point, but I can't stress how important that is. I had Priyanka Khimani on to talk about paperwork as well a few weeks ago, and she
Oh
was like,
damn.
"Get proper legal advice" was her first thing. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely, absolutely. Um, Tell me this, man. I mean, I'm very curious to know this, right? I think we look at, as someone who now lived in Nagpur, moved to Bombay, looks at people spending money on things as sort of, as my day job, right? And then that's what I do in marketing. You figure out where people are spending money, and then we figure out how to get them to spend more money.
Mm.
Now I'm looking at you running a business out of Nagpur that is a coffee business. That's, I'm pretty sure, got a footprint in multiple countries now with your partners. What is, what are the challenges, I would say, in growing from like a one city operation at this point, maybe, to a multi city operation, or how do you look at that, conquering that part of things, right? It's very very fascinating because there are so many countries in it and so many towns in India, right? And that we think are, these are small towns, but they're not small
Yeah.
towns. 25
Yeah.
lakh people upwards live in Nagpur,
Yeah.
right? That's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not a small town. That's 2.5 million people living there. So, do you look at other cities of the same size and think, hey, maybe I'm going to go to some of those cities, or are you looking at international being more of your scene? What's the sort of direction that
Right.
you're heading into?
See, honestly, for me, I like that challenge. It is a challenge to be in multiple cities and then controlling and all, but
Right.
that is what I've signed up for. In my head, since the first day, I had that outlook that okay, I need to take care of not just one place,
Mhm.
because back in 2017, if you would have told me ki Mithilesh, until 2021 you will be at the same spot, I would have never started the business,
Right.
because I come from a mindset that I got to keep moving. I have to keep traveling. I have to keep doing this. I have to expand, expand, expand. And sometimes it's also not great because you don't enjoy the now. But I think it does not, it's not a challenge for me. As I said, you figure it out. Things get figured out. No matter of, I mean, you can't plan enough.
Right.
You just cannot plan. Like, look at the
Right.
tournaments that we used to travel to, man. Like, if we would have thought कि हमको यहाँ से वहां पे पहुंचने का है और फिर हम ये करेंगे, it never would have happened. We just
Right.
went on the bloody train, no tickets, nothing, sitting next to the washroom 36 hours straight, going,
Oh
playing,
man.
winning.
Yeah, yeah.
That was hardcore. Yeah, that was something incredible, right? that was
Right. It
it
does
was
give
just
you give
amazing.
you that spirit for sure, man. It does give you that spirit कि हाँ मतलब करना तो है. And I really identify with that whole sentiment, dude. कि नहीं किया गया है, करना है, figure out कर लेंगे. You have to figure it out. I think there is no other way to look at things, right? I think more and more as we step into the century, new problems, new challenges in business.
Yeah.
You have to be, and I think it's gone a step ahead of being jugadu also. It's not about just being jugad, right? Jugad
No,
is
no, no, no.
temporary. It has to be clever and efficient and effective. I think these things
Yeah.
become important, right? Tell me this. I think for me, coffee is something that I drink maybe 3 cups of coffee a day. Something that I wake up to and gives me a lot of joy, right? But from from your experiences with coffee, give me some highlights from your life, man. I think I mean, as someone who knew you when you were younger and now is again in touch with you, it feels like it's giving you a lot of joy. But I would love for you to share some moments that.
Moments of sadness.
Oh, no, 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 moments of
But
moments of joy. I think
different.
moments of sadness. You gave a very philosophical answer, and I didn't go into
Which was
it.
that? Which was that?
No, no, you said you have to keep going uh, and you forge ahead, and you don't know, you can't plan enough. You said a very nice thing, so I
Oh, okay,
didn't.
okay.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
yeah, honestly, I believe in that. You can't plan.
No,
Like,
no,
if I,
and which is why I
yeah.
didn't go ahead, and I was like, nahi, nahi, bata, lekin kidhar se kidhar. I was like, no, that's a good answer. That I liked it. But you
Yeah,
have to tell me about successes and joys, man. I'm sure.
yeah,
I mean, it's something that gives so many people so much joy every day, right?
true.
But there must be a more special relationship with you. I'd love to know what are some big moments with coffee that you've had.
Let me highlight like say 4 5 of them. First would be when I was planning to name this brand as Corridor 7.
Right,
Uh, that was a top notch moment, to be honest. You know my sister Malvika.
right,
Yeah. So पहले this name was going to be Liberal Ground Coffee Roasters. But with the whole political thing going on, a lot
right,
of
right,
people said
right,
mat karo. And then I went back and I was speaking with my sister ki, okay, I think we need to rename it sort of. So I thought to myself, like, dude, what is your first memory of coffee? So my first memory of coffee is from our school corridors, by the way,
right, right.
which was where the coffee used to be brewed for the teachers, and me and my friend used to go there, sneak in and smell it. So that was my first memory of coffee.
What? Wow,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, and it was like fresh aroma, right? And seven is because the story that you told earlier, brother Baba Budan story is smuggled. So it's like almost my first memory. So that is a highlight,
Right.
that the connect of that corridor and the
And
coffee.
the seven beans, right?
Yeah. The second highlight would be the first time that I did my cupping session. Actually, I'll go a little back. The first time that I had coffee in Melbourne, all
Right.
right? Man, I can't. I would love to abuse, but I can't bloody forget that, man. I can't forget that. Like uh, when you go to Delhi and you have that butter chicken, and you're like, hold on, this is
Right.
what I used to have long time back, and okay, this is what it is. That moment I'll never forget. I had that sip, and I'm like, this is coffee, man. It just made sense.
Right.
I can't express enough. I can't really. That was my first moment. Second, the third would be when I cupped for the first time.
Right.
So, cupping is basically you're using all your senses, smell, taste, and then you're breaking down your tongue into like body, aftertaste, acidity, and all
Right.
that.
Right.
First time when I cupped the coffee, I had like 15 coffees on my table. That was 9th September 2015.
Right. Wow, you
That was the
remember the
first.
date? No,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
insane,
yeah.
man.
So 9th September 2015, I cupped for the first time. And I can't tell you, I was like a zombie. I was like an owl. I did not sleep till next morning 7 a.m. and I had to go back to work at 8 o'clock. I did not sleep for like 36 hours.
Wow.
That then passing the Q grading exam.
Right.
So yeah, I would love to tell you a little bit about that. When
How
I was
did
in
you do that?
Melbourne,
Yeah.
how do you become a Q grader,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Go on. Go on. Go on. Go on.
Yeah. Yeah. So becoming a Q grader is something I would say is almost like becoming a CA. I would say maybe, because you have to work on your palate and your senses so much that you kind of become a what do you say? You have to be a sniffer dog sort of a thing.
Right.
You have to be open for. So basically, how I put it up is like I keep smelling things even now
Right.
to build a library in my head.
Off smells. Right.
Yeah, so that is something which is very important because when you're tasting, you're not just tasting, you're smelling more. 80% is your nose working on it.
Right.
Because if you close your nose and if you have an apple juice, you won't be able to tell it is apple juice.
Right.
So basically, you are building your memory of your library and all. So you have to keep smelling, 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 smelling. Supermarket is the best place you can go to, or the Indian railway station is the best place to go and smell.
Right.
But so that's how actually you prepare off the record. Then comes the technical part of things where you taste a lot of coffees, you hound a lot of people that please tell me what taste is this, what kind of taste is this. So I did this in Australia, the Q grading, and I went there 3 months before my exam,
Hmm.
and I just grabbed a spoon and I just kept. I am not kidding. I just went to this. I went to these random roasteries, all right,
Right.
random roasteries where the cupping and QC, internal QC was happening. And I used to walk in and I used to be like, I want to taste coffees. Can I just be a part of it? And imagine, dude, non-COVID times, win-win,
Uh,
right? You don't have
yeah.
to worry about it.
Insane, man.
Yeah. So you go there and I just kept tasting coffee. So I must have tasted at least couple of thousand coffees in
Oh,
those
wow.
3 months. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm not saying cupping means I'm drinking or sipping coffee. That is from the, it is the way, there's a procedure like the way in wine is there.
Right, right.
Where's a coffee maybe. So more than 3,000 easily. So I went to these
Wow,
cupping
man.
sessions. Yeah. And every time I tasted, I was like, do I know enough? Do I know enough? Do I know enough? Sort of a thing. And then when I went to the Q grading, it's a 6 day long exam basically.
Wow.
You end up tasting around 700 cups of coffees. Not even kidding.
And do you have to like
Uh,
identify what notes there are and stuff
there
like
are
that?
various, yeah, there are various tests in that. There are 22
Right.
tests. One is a written exam, 21 are all practical exams, where
Wow.
you essentially you're just describing the coffee. Sometimes some exams are there where you're finding the odd coffee out, and the odd coffee out is nothing कि आपके सामने तीन coffee है, दो में शक्कर है and one has salt. It's not like that. The coffees would have like just teeny tiny amount of acidity here and there,
Right.
you know. And then you got to identify, and all these exams are conducted under a red lit room, right?
Right.
Just like the photography room, that way, so
That
that
sounds
your,
very cool, man.
yeah, it is
Like
intense, man.
imagine having an exam in like a red room, dude. Wow, man. Intense, dude.
It is intense. It is really intense. And because I had gone all in, I had quit my company, my earlier
Hmm.
coffee company as well,
Hmm.
and then I went to Australia just to ensure that I become a Q grader and all that. So it was a little bit pensive for me as well. And what led to the Q grading exam 3 weeks before is I left all food. Like I just had water, hummus, and pita. That too without salt,
Are you
without.
serious?
Yeah. For 3 weeks I went. I went all guns blazing, man.
Wow, man.
I went
That's
all guns blazing.
hardcore, dude. Hardcore.
Yeah, and I just kept cupping coffees every single day. Again, random roaster, random people, and all.
Beautiful.
And yeah, so that is one moment when I became a Q grader. It was unreal. So like I just took
Yeah,
like,
totally worth asking you that question, man. That sounds like an insane process, dude. Insane.
yeah,
Let me ask you this, though, and since you've had so much experience with coffee within India, outside India, what are some nuances with Indians and the kind of coffee that Indians usually tend to prefer?
right. Uh, See, now gradually people are moving towards the fruitier and acidic coffees. All
Right,
right, because now there are people who can tell them that what you're tasting is not bitter, it's acidic. All right,
right.
sometimes you need that kind of a differentiating factor where you're like, oh, okay, sorry, this is not bitter, this is acidic,
Mhm.
this is fruity, this is not something which is extra fermented or something. So there are people who are moving towards a winey and fruity and acidic kind of coffees. But still, there are still many people who are onto the espressos and
Right.
hardcore bold body. So to each their own, of course. Like what the coffee you like is the best
Mhm.
coffee, I would say.
Of course.
That way.
Right.
So the trend is gradually moving towards that, and the trend can be. I wouldn't say actually it's a trend. I shouldn't use that word trend, but it is more of a culture that is going towards that. That they want to try the more fruitier coffees. Like let's take an example of beer here.
Right.
Like my first beer was Hayward's when I was in 8th standard.
Right.
So after that, when you get exposed to these craft beers and you're like, okay, soft air, all these notes and all,
Mhm.
it's only about how you are introduced to that product
No, that
and
makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, how open are you towards that. So that's how the things are moving towards.
But like, are you seeing that openness come in Nagpur as well? I know, for example,
Tremendously.
I have a friend called Rahul. I'm sure you know Rahul D'Souza as well,
Yes, yes,
who loves acidic coffees, right, for himself.
yes,
But
yes.
are you seeing that happen in Nagpur as well?
Intense. It's
Yeah.
intense. Trust me. Like one of the coffees that we have uh, is more expensive than any other coffees over here because the product in itself, the raw material was expensive. People are just going for it.
Hmm.
And we have run out of that. Like estimates were like 6 months may run out. Okay, we ran out of like in half, like 3 months, half time.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah, people are understanding that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's myth breaking right there, man. I think
Yeah.
a lot of people need to know and need to hear this happening. Tell me this, and like I'll sort of wrap this section up and as we go along. But I heard you say you treat coffee as a sport, right? And And I think you said you want to be world champion of coffee. What does that mean to be world champion of coffee? And I mean, I want to talk about how, whether you're trying to. I mean, will you come? Are you still competing with coffee? Is that something that you're building towards?
Yeah, so see, let me break it down easier way. There are a lot of championships in coffees now that are coming in India.
Mhm.
In European countries, in Australia, it has been happening since 2011 and 12. In India, there was just Barista Championship. Barista,
Right.
not the brand, but Barista is the person who brews.
Right.
Just to clear. Then came the Aeropress Championship 2017, and now there are more championships in coffee tasting. All right. Then there are roasting championships. There are processing championships. There are a lot of these championships gradually coming in.
Right.
All right. And like cupping championship or tasting championship is not easy. It is really, there are a lot of technicalities in
That's the
that.
CA level exam.
Kind of a thing, kind of. So those things are already very much prevalent in other like European and I would say Finland and all these places, and Australia and Japan and all.
Mhm.
I would say what stands out in India is a producing nation, coffee producing nation, and very rarely has it happened that a coffee producing nation has really seen this kind of surge of coffee roasters and specialty coffee market growing
Right.
and the championship coming along, because Ethiopia, Brazil, it does not have all these cultures much, right? So when you ask me, like, I treat it as a sport. For me, another philosophy that I stand by is that if you are gearing up for those championships, that championships will be judged by somebody who's an expert and who's like super expert in that. So you're focused on that, that you got to present, you got to get your coffee right, you got to get your tasting notes right, you need to know your knowledge, you need to know
Right.
how water affects coffee, how you're tamping, how your distribution, how your portfolio, every single thing you should know that. Till the time you don't know that, you can't even think of winning or competing.
Right.
Invariably what happens is the moment you've started thinking, and I'll tell this to all cafes and roasters as well, that if you're thinking on that line, your quality of the cafe increases there itself,
Right.
because your practice, your net sessions are the cafe service, that way.
Right.
Your training
You're already
sessions
used
are
to a higher standard.
correct, you're always there, and then just before the championship you have to step back for a month or so, and then you have to just, your muscle memory is there, but you have to like now rethink, refocus, sort of a thing.
Right.
So I know like many people would find it very silly ki yaar coffee to yaar chill karo yaar, but then
Not at all,
that's our
man.
life, It's
Coffee,
something.
dude. Coffee. No, but it's fascinating to me, dude. That this is a competitive culture, right? And human beings can be competitive about anything, right?
Yeah,
I mean, video games they compete on,
true.
but so why shouldn't we do it on coffee? But it's interesting that it's not just one thing, right? This is what one aspect of it. There is very different aspects and layers and super specialities within it, from what it seems that you're telling me. So
Yeah.
what are you going for, right? What is your sort of competitive coffee roadmap for the next couple of years?
I want to do everything.
Right.
I want to do
No, what does
everything.
that mean? I mean, what
I
are the
want to go for
competitions
the
that you're looking at?
yeah, I want to go for the roasting championships for sure. I'm gonna go
Right.
for the tasting championships, barista championships. Again, I will go for the Aeropress championships, so that world champion representing India is something which is always a dream, be it in anything that you do. So I always take it like, ठीक है, badminton में नहीं कर पाया तो fine, let's do it in coffee. So
Right.
yeah, so these are the things: roasting, tasting coffees, and brewing and barista championship and Aeropress championship. Something that I really look forward towards. 2020 was going to be the year where we push it and focus on this thing, but none of the championships happened. In fact, I was to go to Europe, to sorry, not Europe, Barcelona. Yeah, Barcelona on in November for a
Right.
championship, but did not clearly happen.
COVID, of
COVID.
course. Right.
Yeah.
Brilliant, man. I think this has been very educational, and obviously, the passion with which you talk about both coffee and Corridor Seven is very inspiring. What next for Corridor Seven? What do you see? What sort of trends out of India's coffee future have you accepted? Right. I mean, I know that you're available to deliver all over India, right? If I'm
Yeah,
getting it right. Yep.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you can go to corridor7.com and
Corridor
order
7 dot coffee.
corridor7.coffee.
Yeah.
That's even better. And order this, right? So you've sort of conquered India. What's next for you? What are you looking at in the future?
uh, I would say more into the QC side of things, where I want to train more people who want to get into the roasting, who want to get into the
Mhm.
cafe culture, and who want to start learning about coffee. So I am working on creating that module for the past 6 months.
Right.
It's almost there, and as I told you earlier, that we are moving into a bigger facility now. That would be a space where I get this whole scope of doing things and working it out.
Mhm.
That is the roadmap, at least for the next 6 months. I am not into hardcore opening 50 cafes or 100 cafes pan
Right.
India. That's not something that, I mean, it brings in a lot of paperwork, which clearly we're not really excited
Right.
into.
And plus, not the best time
And
to be starting retail outlets, is it?
yeah, and also the quality goes down, man. Like, it's a
Right. Of course.
big challenge.
Of
It's a
course.
big challenge, you know. I'm not into the franchisee mode of things. I would rather have it self owned and gradually build it up.
Mhm.
So getting more cafe partners on board would be the for sure the next step,
Right.
and curating more cafes for people who can use Corridor 7 coffee is something that I'm looking forward for this year. So all these things would be, I think, pretty much occupied for the next 6 months.
That's brilliant, man. Um, Tell me this now, and just about wrapping this up. It's not a space that is like a blue ocean anymore, right? There's a lot of people, a lot of brands in this space, right? I mean,
Mm.
you go to a Cred app, for example, and you just look through their rewards or the stuff that you can buy
Mm.
on a Cred, and they've got like 5 different brands of
Yeah,
coffee that
yeah.
they're selling there, right? And what differentiates Corridor 7, right? And what is your sort of vision for the brand in terms of how it helps grow this space?
Uh, See, I'm really happy to see so many brands coming up in coffee, because only then can you judge a quality, you know.
Right.
That's something that you got to leave it on the customers, on the people who buy the coffee. What differentiates Corridor 7, let me tell you from the cafe point of view, is, as I said earlier, and I keep saying this to my team in everyday briefing, is that we are not in transaction, we are into a conversation mode. We're not here for transactions or anything, just
Right.
conversation and coffee, right? That is for cafe. But for roastery, it's always been involving people into the back end of what we are doing, sort of a thing. Like, we just started something called profiling with our farmers.
Right.
So in that was a really, we got great response in that. That was something where we basically sourced the coffee from the farmers, and we roasted in like two different profiles. And by profile is basically the recipe. Let's call it a
Right.
recipe in the roasting, not the brewing, but the
Right.
roasting. Two different styles of roasting. The same coffee I was cupping over here, the same coffee the farmer was cupping over there. And before it went on the website, we cupped it together, and we decided on the profile that should be highlighted and be sold on the website.
Right.
So that was something which is very educative as well, because the farmer told his story, his idea, his whole knowledge about it. I told him
Mhm.
what coffee. So it is more involving rather than okay, we've got a new estate, let's do this. You know.
Right. Right.
So that is what Corridor 7 is all about. And just right now, like yesterday, we started a pickers program. All right, be
Right.
Corridor 7 pickers program. Honestly, I did not think it through entirely, but I was like, I think this idea could work. So it's yet not been developed completely, but when we put it on the website, on the post on Instagram, we've got like around 80-90 people who've already signed up for that, they without knowing what it is going to be.
Right. What is it
So
going to
I
be?
I don't
But
know.
are you like going to send
No,
people to pick coffees? Is that the plan?
no. The highlight, like the framework of that would is almost like when I get the samples over here.
Hmm.
I just invested in a small roaster, which is like an Ikawa 50-gram roaster,
Right. Right. Right.
sample roaster. The framework is that when we get the samples, we'll be roasting these coffees in different ways, and we'll be shipping it out to them, whoever signs up, and we'll ask them like, "Do you want to see this coffee on the portfolio?" You know,
Right.
so this is kind of a framework. I haven't really zeroed it down or detailed into it, but it is only about involving everybody into it. That is
Brilliant,
what
man. Beautiful.
Pickers program is about.
Beautiful, man. I think that's a lovely program. I would like to be part of it.
Ah, super sorted.
No, man, it's brilliant to hear these things that you're doing that are not just like, I mean, consistent with what you said earlier as well, right? That it's such a vast art that you can't be the person who seems to say I know everything, right? You
Mm.
bring in other people, their shared knowledge, and you use that in a way that benefits everyone,
Yeah.
and specifically the end consumer, right? Brilliant, man. It was really great talking to you. I think, I mean, I've been a big fan of Corridor 7 coffee every time I've had it, and I would urge everyone who's listening in to check out corridor7.coffee to get a sense of the blends that Mithilesh and team have. Before I let you go, and I have like a kind of question like this that I ask everyone.
Mhm.
Usually, I ask them for an entertainment recommendation, but for you, I'll ask for a coffee recommendation, a blend that really has stood out for you in the last year, something that you think really stood out for you. Yeah,
Uh, One is like, I think I should be telling about my own coffee, I
yeah,
guess.
of course, of course, of course. No,
So
but if
the
you really thought somebody else's blends really stood out, I
yeah, yeah,
mean, you can obviously talk about it, but I
for
would
sure,
love
for sure,
love to hear about Corridor 7 blends.
for sure. There's this estate called Riverdale, which we sourced, and that was the first time that Riverdale estate exposed themselves to India because
Right,
all coffees were going outside. So Riverdale estate watermelon will be getting my watermelon process will be getting back maybe in a month. It's out of
right,
stock right now.
right.
But one blend that we just loved and we have stuck to it is something called August Rush. Have you seen the movie August Rush?
No, but sounds
Oh,
familiar though.
you should. Oh, you should. So definitely watch that movie. It's
For sure,
almost like
for sure.
music. So it's all about music and the way this kid plays the music, and it's all synchronizes and everything.
Right, right,
So when we cupped that coffee, when we made that blend and tasted that coffee, we were like, okay, wow, this is music, man. This is amazing.
right.
So we
Lovely.
called it August Rush, and it stuck with us. So that is something that I would recommend for sure.
Definitely. So Riverdale and August Rush are the blends. Corridor7.coffee is the website. Mitesh Vasalwar, thank you so much for spending some time with us and telling us about your coffee journey. We wish you all the very best for becoming coffee world champion in your journey with coffee as a sport. I hope you had fun, man.
Yeah, man, it was amazing talking to you. It was almost like we're meeting. Actually, we're meeting after a long time, and it was really great. It was really amazing.
Great.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much. And that's it on this episode of Storytellers and Story Sellers. This is Vineet Kanabar saying goodbye.